welcome back to Talking Shop. I'm Essence.
I'm Emily.
And happy Monday.
Yeah. Episode 10.
Maybe happy Tuesday. Wait, this is episode 10?
Yeah.
I thought that we did episode 10 last time.
Episode 9, Girly Pop.
Okay. Happy Pride still.
Continues to be Pride.
Yeah, and almost Juneteenth, so shout out to my cousins.
We're 2 weeks into Pride. How are we feeling?
Gay. Was that the right answer?
I guess.
How are you feeling?
Pretty gay.
Slut? Okay. My meds have not kicked in. So, this will be a journey for us all.
It'll be an adventure. It feels like the last episode of our podcast was pretty well received.
Yeah, we popped off. It only went viral. So,
shout out to our Instagram following.
Yeah, so if you don't follow us, you can follow us at DR Social Club _ because whoever has DR Social Club not _ did not DM me back on trading usernames. So, even though they haven't used it in years.
Yeah.
So if that's you, please check it. That'd be bizarre, but you know, it's a restaurant, so I don't know.
But now's a good opportunity to get on the ground floor.
On the ground floor
of us. Follow us before we blow up.
Yeah.
That way you fit.
Yes. So tell your friends. Okay.
I think we finally have the mic situation figured out.
Yes, wait. So we can actually... So we got a new mic. We've been struggling with the whole mic situation. We actually have 2 because Nolan crushed it.
Shout out to my brother.
But then we had an echo situation, so we think we maybe figured this out, but...
Yeah. And until we rearrange where we're doing the podcast.
Emily likes this spot, but it is the most inconvenient spot according to every research that I have found.
I like it.
Yeah, and it said don't record in corners, 2 corners, avoid windows, 2 windows, make sure that there's a lot of padding and not tile. Well,
at that point, we're just recording in our closet.
I mean, we could do it in one of the offices. Until then, we're here. Okay, let's get into it. We're just yapping, but not even about anything.
So at the beginning of every episode, we always play a game. It's Work Wife, Work Overlord, Work Nemesis. And we each give each other 3 characters from television or any kind of realm that is not our real life.
Yes.
And we pick which one of them we want to be our Work Wife or Overlord and which one we would choose to be our Nemesis. Be simple.
I don't remember who went first, but I actually have them.
Okay. Go ahead.
So, we are, like we said a week ago, we're fully in the Love Island swing. And for that reason, my 3 are coming from Love Island.
Okay.
So, 3 choices. We have Sincere. We have Melanie. And we have Soul. The love people.
Melanie would be my Nemesis.
Why? Because she would make you hers.
I feel like Melanie's the kind of person I get frustrated with because it's like constantly flip-flopping.
It's intense.
It's like 1 minute, I want nothing to do with this man. And then the next minute, like, I'm sitting over here sobbing. Like, that's just a lot. I cannot be on the roller coaster. In Fiji?
Yeah. What do I look like? This is not Survivor. This is Love Island.
Correct. I'd make Soul my work wife.
Really?
Yeah. She has big feelings, and I feel like she's misunderstood. I feel like we get along. She seems fine.
Do you have big feelings and feel misunderstood?
No, but I know how to love people too.
Okay.
And I don't totally love Sincere, but here is why I would make him my Overlord. Is because that man knows how to finesse.
Yeah.
That man has got some game.
That's somebody you can get behind.
That is somebody who knows how to work the system, how to get his needs met.
Yeah.
That is somebody I would be okay.
I kind of like him.
I think he's fine.
I think that he needs boundary setting skills. Like, he would benefit from knowing how to say, like, I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah.
But other than that,
he's poor boundaries. But I guess that has taught him how to finesse the system a little bit.
People pleasers are the best at getting their needs met.
Yeah. So, I would say those were.
All right. It was easy.
Yeah. We'll go to last season of Love Island.
It's been a minute. I'll do my best.
Olandria.
Okay.
Amaya Papaya.
Okay.
Huda.
Whew. Honestly, I like all of them. So Nemesis is hard.
Yeah.
I think... Okay, Overlord, definitely Landria. That's who I want to work for. Out of them, the most, like, grounded of the 3. I think Work Wife. What is my job?
Love Island. You keep asking this.
I know, because context matters. Because, I don't know, an MMA fighter, I want Hoda. If I'm a teacher, I want Hoda. But then I would choose Amaya as my work wife. It depends on the task. But I guess, is it end season Hoda or beginning season Hoda?
Hurricane Hoda.
That's Nemesis. She was... But honestly, if I knew why she was crashing out, which I did, then I don't know, she was fine. Jeremiah was a lot. And then I remember, who was the guy that made her walk? In the water. No, it wasn't. It was like the second guy.
Oh.
Chris.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, I'm leaving, and then made her walk on the pond. I was raging. So if you watch Love Island, let us know how you're feeling. We're actually a day behind because we didn't watch last night.
Yeah.
So who knows? There might have been a new person kicked off, but
I'll have to go back and watch.
Yeah.
I feel like what I'm hearing, the biggest piece of feedback is everyone is staying coupled up. That like people are saying producers are having to get messy because none of the bombshells are able to like infiltrate in the way that they do.
And they need to do the hotel. It costs them more. They need to do it earlier.
Yeah.
That's what would shake it up. Maybe we should just talk about that. How would we produce a TV show?
I'm talking about the straightest television show.
They very clearly, like they could very easily do a gay one. It would be so much more fun.
Well, it's like, Are You the One?
Yeah, there was one queer season of Are You the One that I really liked that one. It was good.
Everybody could be dating everybody.
So much more interesting. That makes me want to watch that season again. That was good. I watched it like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are we talking about today?
I don't know. We kind of like threw around some ideas, but didn't actually get anywhere. So it might be a short one. Or it'd be a really long one.
Those tend to be our long one.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
Well, I think we had kind of like thrown around this idea of, and I think is like something important to talk about, is like what validation could look like, or like what validation or acknowledgement looks like, especially during months where we're prioritizing like certain aspects of people's identities. Could be helpful.
You took it a little bit more serious than I was.
Oh.
I was just raging. But like, I think that is probably more on brand. Basically, backstory is context matters. That's about to be my shirt. Go on our website for merch that hasn't dropped yet, but maybe it will. Basically, I get really annoyed when people say things like, should we act out? Like, role play, you're having a breakdown.
I mean, I guess.
Just like say words so that I can like explain my frustrations with, I see you. I hear you.
I can't believe they did this thing. It's just so nonsense, and I'm so tired of it, and I'm done.
I hear you. You know, I see you. Your feelings are valid. That makes me want to die. That's how seriously I feel. I think it's so annoying when people just say, like, validation, the role of validation is to help another person understand that you believe that whatever they're experiencing makes sense in the context of them. Like, if you were them with their lived experiences and seeing a situation in the way that they're seeing it, that you get how they got there, wherever that may be.
Yeah.
And saying, I see you, or your feelings are valid, is not actually, like, doing that. And that annoys me. And I feel like we see it a lot on, like, reality shows. But we also see it in real life, where people are like, oh, I hear you. That just, you know, I see you. Your feelings are valid. Well, it's like a non-response.
There's a big difference between I hear you and I'm listening to you.
Say more.
That, like, I hear you. Like, yeah, we all, like, as long as the structure of our ears are, like, working, as long as we don't have any, like, impairment in some way, that, like, we actively are just, like, hearing stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But, like, our brains are very good. So as long as, like, we are able to, like, actively hear, like, our brain is constantly, like, taking in sensory information. I don't think a lot of people, like, realize how much sensory input our brain is actively taking.
I do.
At one period of time.
I get overstimulated. I hear everything.
Yeah, but, like, our brain, like, has this really, like, unique mechanism in it where, like, it knows what to filter and it knows, like, what to kind of, like, bring to the front of your sensory focus and, like, what to put to the back. And, like, there's, like, points that we're taking in that our brain's, like, not even, like, it's descended. It's not even going to process that thing. That it's just going to, like, move on and, like, go to the next thing.
If you have ADHD, yours is impaired. So that filter does not work as effectively.
And there's a big difference between like hearing the sensory input and like sitting down and like actively listening and intaking what somebody is saying and processing the words that they're saying and like putting it through the filter. Like listening is a very effortful process. And I think a lot of people believe that hearing is enough when it comes to like sitting and processing with somebody or like validating or acknowledging somebody. That like I think a lot of people assume that like the Spark Notes version is enough instead of like actually sitting down and like understanding the broader, again, context of a lot.
Context matters.
Context matters.
See, it's Yeah. I mean, I think that like, I think in therapy school, right? Like they teach us how to listen. That's about the only thing that they actually
like day one.
Yeah, but like that's the thing that I feel like I actually took from graduate school, and like that's different from how you listen to like your friends and that kind of thing. One of the biggest takeaways for me, especially when I was learning DBT, was about like you only validate the valid. And so what that requires is you have to actually be able to like listen to another person and like filter through what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. Do that step to think to yourself like, okay, like what about this do I want to actually like pull out and like use to further our conversation? Yeah. And I think that one of the most frustrating things is like the receiver of feedback like that is that it feels more like a door than a bridge. Like if you say, I hear you, it's like, yeah, I know. And like, that's that. Like, that's the end of the conversation. Or you keep talking and it's like not a very much like connected reciprocal conversation. It's like, I'm talking at you and you're like throwing out this acknowledgement of things. I think it's the same thing with like, I see you. Like, especially I think this is true during like awareness months where it's like, oh, you know, Black people, I see you, or queer people, I see you. And it's like, what do you see? Like, you're not actually, when you do that, you're not actually adding to the conversation or creating any type of connection, and that annoys me.
I think it's a very closed-ended interaction. Yeah. That it's like, okay. And like, that's about it.
It's like it's like Fruit Ninja, you know, and the fruit's like going all around and you're like, you slice it and it's like, okay, like got that one. Like, that's kind of how it feels. It's like you throw all the words and then they're like, slice, and like, that's that.
I think validation at its core, I think, is like a well-intentioned thing. That it's like we want people to know that like we're listening, we're understanding. And I think that is the piece that often gets missed is people like, I see you, I hear you, but nobody is like, I understand you, or like, you make sense. And I think that is an important piece of like validation is like, it is not this blanket, like, yes, everything you're saying is 100% correct. And like, yeah, you're right. And everyone else is wrong. And like, I don't think validation was ever intended to be that, but it is at the core that like, you know, somebody's listening and taking the information and attempting to understand you.
Yeah. Well, I know like within DBT, there's like I think it's 5 levels of validation, but I could be wrong there, but it talks about how like, you know, at the core is just like listening and like nodding and body language, like just active listening. But as you become more like advanced in your ability to validate somebody, you use less of like what they said and more of like how you respond, and like it's like ingrained into how you say things. So you're like demonstrating with your words and your actions that you actually understand. So if I'm like sitting here and you're like, hey, like you're stepping on my foot. So if you're like, I'm stepping on your foot, and you're like, hey, like my foot really hurts, I could be like, I hear you. Yeah.
That makes me want to punch you in the face.
Yeah. But then I could also be like, oh, one time I got my foot stepped on and that hurt really bad. And like, that's still not helpful because the most validating thing when somebody brings a problem to you is to solve the problem.
Well, I think people confuse like sympathy and validation.
Say more.
I think like when you were talking, like, like, oh, I get how hard that is because like I also know how hard that is. I think like is an attempt, like it's a bid for connection. Yeah. That it's like, okay, like being understood means you're not in it alone. But I think people confuse like sympathy and like being able to be like, yeah, like that must be really hard. Yeah. With like actually like validating problem solving or like doing anything beyond what somebody could have done in a journal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think like we need connection, right? Like there's so much that comes out of like connecting with other people. But I think it can get really easy, especially, this sounds like so older adult to say, but like we get so caught up in like technology and like efficiency and things like that where we're like witnessing a lot of people's pain, but we're not like co-experiencing it with them. And so it has like created this like reflex almost of like, oh yeah, that sucks. And like it could be anything. Like you could have the same exact response for every single person that like says something to you that is like acknowledging pain, but it's not really like validating or connecting. And so I think like understanding back to like the context is like true validation, and like really seeing people is like first making sure that you actually know the context and like trying to figure out like, okay, wait, why are you saying this to me? Like, what's going on with you? And so if you're saying, hey, my foot really hurts because you're stepping on it, the first thing I should do is be like, you know, you're telling me that your foot hurts because I'm stepping on it. Like, maybe I should take a step back. Like, I am stepping on you. Yeah, I get how you like got that way. And like, it doesn't always require words, and it doesn't always require like a response as much as it require. I mean, it does require a response, but it doesn't always require that you're like acknowledging the pain. Sometimes it just means that you stop causing the harm.
Well, I think being like a good validator, or like a person who is like in the position like where somebody's like coming and asking for support, is being open to feedback, not solving the problem.
Yeah.
That I think it's like being open to like somebody else's perspective rather, and like I think that is something that I think becomes really important in like a lot of our interactions, is like the curiosity mindset of, okay, I might not know how that feels, or I might not know how like I would problem solve it, or I don't know what the answer is right away, but I'm like willing to like listen, or being open to like hearing like this other person's perspective. That I think like we could get a lot further if we focused on perspective taking over trying to fix somebody else's emotions or solve the problem right away.
Why do you think we do that?
We don't like chaos. Like, our brains don't like ambiguity for the most part. Like, we often like try and address ambiguity by problem solving. And I think like a lot of the world is very like good at making us feel out of control of a lot of things because of the hierarchies of the world, that I think when we have a solvable problem sitting in front of us, humans like to jump in and try and solve what feels like a solvable problem. And I think we approach other people's emotions as a solvable problem.
I think it's a distress tolerance thing. Like, I don't know that everybody has the emotional capacity to like sit there and just let it be uncomfy, or like, especially I think with like anger and frustration, if somebody's like, hey, like I'm really frustrated, people don't like feeling like somebody's upset with them. They like want that to go away. And I think with emotions, a lot of the time, like happy emotions, it's easy to hang in there with somebody and be like, oh, tell me more about like how exciting that was, or how fun or cool or whatever. But when it's like hard, it starts to like, you know, impact us, where I'm like, oh, you're crying. Now I feel sad. I want that to go away. So like, let me fix this problem, or like make it so that like you will stop doing what you're doing, to a fault, because I do think that people need, but there's like a middle, because there's also people that I believe really like the depth of emotions to a fault, where they will like impede somebody else's ability to like move on or move forward from that, because they like enjoy that for whatever reason.
Can you talk a little bit more about like what distress tolerance is?
Of course. So, I mean, like, it sounds dumb, I feel like, when you define it, because it is self-explanatory, but, like, not all the way. So, distress tolerance is your ability to tolerate distress, but not distress in the sense of, like, bad feelings. Like, it's not, it doesn't stop there, I guess is a better way to say that. With distress tolerance, it is your ability to be in a situation without making it worse. And so if my house is on fire and I start crashing out, going around being like, oh my god, the house is on fire, everything's terrible, and like this is the end of the world, and I'm like running around the neighborhood, and I do all of that, and I never call 911. I'm never like trying to put the fire out because I'm so consumed with how I'm feeling. Like, that is unhelpful. And having distress tolerance is our ability to say like, okay, sometimes we can't fix the problem. Sometimes we can't make it better, but we can not make it worse with our response. And so distress tolerance is one of like the biggest, right after like emotional literacy, that's the next thing that I teach a lot in therapy, is like, okay, now that you know what your feelings are and you know which ones feel unmanageable at times, what do you do to make sure that they stay under control?
I got a span fault and I don't know if it's
okay. Yeah.
I wanted to check. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
Distress tolerance, you teach it in therapy.
But after teaching emotions and like people are able to identify them, which is great, you have to know like what your capacity is and like what you can handle, and also the types of things that help you to get things under control. So like for me, when I'm feeling very overwhelmed, I have done a lot of like work to not move with urgency in my emotions. I will try and like sit in it and figure it out, because I know that like if I act out on out on my feelings, a lot of times I will make things worse. If I'm stressed and I'm running around, like I'll trip over something or I'll run into something or I'll drop something, and like that now is like starting this like domino effect of everything falling apart. And so I think when it comes to the context of like our relationships, distress tolerance also means that I can hang in there with another person who is struggling with their emotions without taking on all of their emotions to a place where I can no longer be effective in that support, because now I am so overcome and overwhelmed. And also that I can sit in it without trying to fix it, make it go away, or like alter it in any way. Because I think that's the thing, is like we want people to feel better, but sometimes that's not what they need.
I think there's just like this interesting thing I've noticed like on TikTok recently is like people will be posting, like this one guy, they were like moving their entire like house and his like trailer jackknifed on the interstate, and like the car was on its side, the trailer was like flipped over and stuff, and he was just like being like, yeah, so this happened, and like the tow truck's coming, but like this is a disaster, but like very calm. And everyone in the comments was like, I want whatever dose of Lexapro. And I was like, that's distress tolerance. Like,
Yeah.
it's, and so I think like the joke is funny. And I think a lot of people confuse like the ability to like tolerate distress or cope, or like even the fight or flight response of like, I cannot be in this mess right now. So like, I have to like go to problem solving mode, with like, that's not something we're capable of getting to as like humans, but it is something that like we can get to assisted.
Like with substances?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. Like, substances help.
Yeah.
I think substances, not all, but many, especially like depressants, will lower, or I guess raise, in the inverse, raise your threshold. So, like, one of the things that we talk about, we could put this in the show notes or whatever, is an emotion thermometer. And so the way that I map it out is like, you know, we go 1 to 10, 10 being the most stressed you've ever felt, and then 1 being like, it's just now present.
Yeah.
And talking about like, as the emotion, essentially, if you don't do anything, emotions don't go away with neutrality, they rise. It's just going to keep getting hotter until it's not. And so when we're like thinking about our emotions, if something happens and it's like not that big of a deal, it might be like a 1 or a 2 or a 3. And we still have control. We recognize that the emotion is happening, but like, we can handle it. When it gets to like a 4, 5, 6, 7 is usually like the range, the middle. Like, that's when we start doing things like pacing or talking faster, or we're tapping or fidgeting, or, you know, like we have like a tone, or we're snappy, where you're still in control, but the emotion is like taking some of that away, but it's more like unconscious. And I think like that, I like color code it with my clients. I don't know if you do, but, and that is like the most critical window, when your emotions are rising. And like, if you can be aware, while you're still in control, then you can like do a lot in that window. I think the issue with distress tolerance for a lot of people, and why they feel like it doesn't work and coping skills don't work, is that they don't employ them until they're at an 8 through 10. And at that point, like, you have lost
so you
control.
missed the window.
Yeah. And so I think people are like, oh my gosh, like, if I was that, like, I would not be able to do that. And it's like, of course you wouldn't. Nobody can do anything effective at an 8 through a 10. That's why how you manage everything below a 7 is so important. And like, I won't act like I'm not also on Lexapro. Like, I mean, like, realistically, like, I am also on that. And that is part of the way that I support my brain in being able to control how I respond in that window. And some people need that, especially if you're like anxious and you are always kind of have the alarms going off in your brain. It's one tool to do that. I think that's why depressants work, is it's not as hard to like manage them. But I think ultimately, like, we all have a 10.
Yeah.
And how frequently you get to a 10 and how frequently you lose control is dependent upon like how you handle it as it's building up. But things do not automatically take you at a 10. It might be fast. Like, the jump could be like 30 seconds compared to 30 minutes, but like, there is a gradual build always.
Yeah. Well, I think to be a good listener, you have to be able to like tolerate your distress long enough to understand why somebody is coming to you in the first place. That I don't think I think if you don't understand the purpose of like why I'm bringing like my emotions or a stressor to you, then like you're already missing the job of like being validating, because we could validate somebody for like the completely wrong thing, and that's not even why they came to us for. And like we miss the mark if we are not able to tolerate.
Well, and we like lose, like, in addition to the things that we lose in like that middle zone of like control over our bodies, we in our like voices and things, we also lose control over our like cognition and the way that we are like seeing a situation. And so if I have very low distress tolerance and you come in and you just like had a situation outside and come in screaming, and I have low distress tolerance, I'm like ready to fight you back. And it's not even about me because I'm so like activated. And so I think that's the other side of like making sure that you can regulate your own emotions in terms of validation. Is like you need to be able to listen for like what is even going on without defensiveness hitting as quickly as it does. And I think that's hard and also not modeled for a lot of people.
So if you could change the way people respond to like bids for validation, what would you encourage people to do?
Well, I think you have to recognize it. So what would you say are like some examples? I guess we should maybe talk about that. Like what a bid would look like. And I think across context, because like with your friends, right? Like it's like, can we talk? Like that's a very easy, clear, like obvious thing of like they have tea and like they need to talk about it. But like we need to talk is like a very different context, right? Like I don't have enough information to be like, ooh. And so that is going to like kind of like ring the alarm bells. And again, we need to talk could mean that I did something, but it could also mean that like they had a day and like that's just the way that the words came out. And so I think maybe first is like recognizing like, okay, what is this interaction and like what are they looking for? I think displays of emotion are very easy. If somebody's crying or like freaking out, then you usually can be like, they need some like help. But there are parts of people that are harder for us to want to go in and validate that. I think that's like a big talk around like mental health. It's like, oh, we all want to be like supportive of mental health till people have mental health problems, and then you're like, just kidding.
I think something where people really struggle is validating the emotion, but not the behavior.
And not agreeing. Because like validation does not mean you agree. It just means you get it.
Which means like you were at least attempting to understand the other person's like emotion or perspective.
Yeah.
I think that is like a big point of contention in like power dynamics when somebody who is like higher up in the hierarchy like comes to like talk or with like I think in like the couples work that we do, if like somebody perceives they were like on the wrong side of the fight or like the right side of the fight, that they don't want to like give the edge to the other person, or the belief
like
or the belief is like if I validate your emotional experience or your perspective, that means you're going to use it as ammunition later to like come back to be like, well, you agreed with this. And I think that is a very common thing that happens is people are afraid to validate because they are worried about the long-term consequences of like, are you going to believe that like that's what I believe now, or are you going to go tell other people that like I agreed with, like are you going to start using me in like conversations to like back you up? I think people have a lot of fears about what their words mean, not only in the moment, but taken outside of like the context of that conversation.
Yeah, this is like an area where I feel like my brain works differently than like most people. So like as you're talking, I'm like, oh, like I see why people would think that, but that's not my experience of it, I guess. I think that is a really like, it's like language. Like that's a language issue more than it is like anything. And I think like the words that we use are really important. So like I see you, I hear you, they're vague. And because of that, we listen for like what we want to hear. So if we're not careful with validating, like it can feel like agreement to the person on the other end. If you're like, oh, I hate this job and everything sucks. And your boss is like, yeah, like I get it. Like that feels like you co-signed my emotion and like my experience of things. And so like using language around things like, I understand how you got that. I understand how you're seeing it that way. Or like, I see how you got there. What I actually meant was insert explanation here. Or, oh yeah, like given, you know, what happened with your mom at this time, like it would make sense that you would react this way. And I think it's also much easier to validate when you're able to keep the light on the other person and not make it about you. Because then I'm not like, oh, like I see that you're mad at me because I did this and I did that. And like that feels like I'm like agreeing with you. But if I say like, I understand why you would be upset by that, like when I did that, that's not admitting guilt, but it is like acknowledging that like
And I think oftentimes, like, the person, like, coming into the conversation seeking validation is not wanting to be told they're 100% right. But I think they are wanting to, like, be understood. Like, that is often the reason, like, we bring our emotions to, like, other people, is we don't know how to manage them, or we are struggling to, like, be grounded in knowing if that emotion is, like, something we're supposed to be feeling, or, like, it's an emotion that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like, when we talk about validation too, I think with, like, social media, a lot of people started to understand validation as, like, external reassurance rather than validation. Like it became like, I need other people to approve of me or to, like, tell me that I'm doing a good job. And, like, in this context of what we're talking about, it's not that as much as it is, like, when you are communicating with another person, making sure they know or they believe or they can see that, like, you are trying to put yourself in their shoes and, like, get it with them. And so I can also see, like, because of the way that therapy speak becomes, like, popularized, it can become more, like, confusing on what you're actually being asked to do. And I think, like, at the core, validation is just being able to perspective take and then explain to the person whose perspective you're taking that you see it from, like, you can understand how they're getting there. And then people are much more likely to listen to you too, because they feel like you actually, like,
Get it?
are listening.
Yeah.
So I can be like, I see how you got there. And at the same time, like, what I actually meant was this. And they're like, oh, okay, like, you're not debating me on, like, my experience, but you are sharing yours.
Yeah.
And that's so much easier.
I think it's being able to recognize that, like, everybody is bringing in, like, their own side of the story. It's like, it's what everyone, like, most people say is, like, there's my version, your version, and the truth.
Yeah.
That there's those, like, 3 versions to a story. And it's important to recognize that, like, when we are dealing with, like, humans, that we are dealing with faulty memories, memories that are often guided by emotion
and experiences that you've had previously.
And I think, like, we all carry stuff into, like, all our interactions. And I think, especially in a time where we're drawn focus to, like, the storytelling of LGBTQ plus people in Pride Month or Juneteenth, or whenever we get into, like, months or periods of time where we are choosing to, like, highlight the struggles of certain identity groups, that, like, whether it is, like, joy, whether it is anger or frustration or, like, education, that, like, the people who are putting that information out there and their emotions out there aren't looking to be told, like, you're right and you deserve to feel every single thing that you're feeling and we're all wrong and, like, you're 100% right. But it is, like, the ultimate desire to be heard. And I think that's where a lot of, like, these months come from, like, any History Month or, like, weeks honoring certain identities come from, like, a foundational lack of understanding and a need for dedicated periods of time to put out there for people to attempt to perspective take and to, like, listen.
Yeah, and I think, like, if you don't have, I think something we didn't talk about that I think you prompted that is important is, like, if you don't have understanding, don't lie and, like, fake it and pretend that you do. So, like, if you're like, oh, I can see how you got there, but, like, you know full well you could not see how they got there, like, that is an opportunity for connection in the form of questions and clarifications. And I saw this clip, I don't know if you saw it, but there was this graduation recently where I guess the guy that came to, like, different. You have to tell me about that.
Yeah.
But this guy was, like, on the school board, and I guess, like, every year they had done this, like, proclamation for June for Pride Month. And the guy was like, yeah, I don't get, like, we have, I forget how many. He's like, there's all of these, like, observances throughout the year. And, like, I don't understand why we need 30 more days to, like, honor gay people, basically. And then he went to speak at, like, these kids' graduation. They all stood up and turned around when it was his time. And I was, like, reading through, like, the discourse and the comments and everything. And when you were talking about that, I think, like, that guy, the reason that didn't go over very well was when people were answering and responding and saying, like, these are the reasons why this is important, he was, like, not willing to listen. So he's, like, fake asking questions essentially, but had no desire to try and actually understand that. He was just, like, throwing it out. It was like, and I don't understand without, like, actually a desire to understand is, like, useless information. And then, like, you see how it went, like, excuse me, the kids wanted nothing to do with him, and I was like, hell yeah, like, you're right. And I think that when we're talking about, like, validation, it does require a curiosity and it does require a desire to get it right. And you want to get it right through, like, their perspective more than you want to be right. And so like it requires the willingness to be like corrected. And I think a lot of people don't like that either. When you're like, oh, so you're sad because this, and they're like, no, it's not that. And like a lot of people are like, well, fine, like I don't even want to help you because like I'm trying. And people like lose sight when they're trying to validate and like be there for others, that like you actually understanding the other person's experience accurately is the most important part of that interaction. 100%. If somebody wanted to start validating more or like assess their willingness or their ability to validate, like where would they start?
I think like to me, education is always like a good piece that like if you don't quite know how like in real time to like validate somebody, that I think like any perspective taking exercise, like you could watch like a 10-minute clip of somebody's life story and then like sit back and like write down what you've heard. I think is a good place to start. Like asking your friends to like talk about their day and practice the active listening of like parroting back what you're hearing. That I think like validation starts not when somebody's in crisis, but when we become better active listeners to begin with.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was thinking is like start with active listening.
Yeah.
Like validation requires often like a response. Like just start with like no response and just like hearing what people say.
Yeah. I think go listen to like storytelling, go listen to other people's perspectives.
Or interviews would be good. Like that guy that interviews, I think it's like We Need to Talk or something like that. I don't know. I'll have to look. But he is not a therapist or anything, but like he asks questions in a way that like is to guide them telling their own story. And I think like podcasts that do interviews like that are really good places to get like follow-up questions and like the idea on how to like further a story.
Yeah. I think you could get a lot further in life with a curiosity mindset. That I think if people were curious, that I often like teach this in therapy, is that there's a big difference between being curious and judgmental. And I think people don't often like separate the two. That like they don't even recognize that they like walk into conflict already having like their minds made up, and that they're seeking evidence to validate their own perspective.
Yeah.
Rather than like being curious or like open without the idea that they come in and like know how they're going to feel about it or what they're going to think about it. And I think it's effortful. It is work to do that. And we can get a lot further if we enter into conflict with the belief, or like any kind of conversation with the belief that like we are there to gain more information, not I need information to like reinforce why I believe the way I believe.
Yeah, I think like it had to be around when I had turned 21 or something. My like goal for the year was to learn how to say I don't know without feeling stupid about it. And like really practicing like I don't understand, I don't know, or like can you explain that differently? And part of it was because I was in grad school and like, you know, there were things that I like genuinely didn't understand and didn't know, and like it was affecting like my learning. But I think it's helped my relationships a ton because I just always assume that I'm missing something or like I don't get something. I recognize with you as my wife that being on the other end of that does not always feel like curiosity because again, work in progress.
Yeah.
But I think like the best thing I've ever done is be willing to assume that I don't know anything and go into situations trying to seek that information from the person in front of me instead of like coming up with my own explanation for behavior and then having to like undo it and be like, because then you already have like taken your thought so far, it's like threatening and like effortful to undo what you've already done.
Yeah. I think if we approach life with a better understanding that like we don't know everything and that people can hold differing perspectives and like that is not compromising like your own belief system
are true.
Right. Two things can be true at the same time. I think like a lot of progress can be made, especially like around like Pride Month, if the people who do not believe that there is like a worth to it are open to like sitting and listening about why it is worth it for like the people in the community. I think a lot of progress can be made if like people go to like pride parades without like preconceived notions about what it is or what it is not, and just like take a look at like the people around you. That I think if we took in data in real time, like our brains are supposed to be doing, that we could get a lot further in the perspective taking piece, because like even if it's not for you, it's for somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think like that comes with restrictions, right? That we're not actively harming anybody. That like
yeah, but I think
it's like sensible restrictions.
Yeah, like common sense. But like you can assume, I think like I often do is like if I don't get it, if I can't understand why somebody is seeing something the way that I'm seeing, it's because I'm missing something.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, okay, you're saying this, and I'm trying to get it from like my view, but there's something that's like not clicking. But I need more information.
I think people see that as a threat to their intelligence or their perception of their intelligence.
Silly.
Yeah.
Like I mean, that was very like reductionist of like the actual complexity. But I think like if you look at like all those quotes and stuff about wisdom, people are like, wisdom is knowing that you don't know anything. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that we're never going to know everything. There's so much information. There's always like new discoveries every single day. Mm-hmm. I think it is a waste of our life to go around trying to like maintain the perception of others or ourselves that we actually have it all figured out. Because no, you don't. And everybody knows you don't. And like, we're all living for the very first time. So like, what are you trying to prove and to who?
Yeah.
And I think what I would like to prove to others is that like I'm a caring, loving kind of person who's like in life with them to like support them. And that doesn't require me to be a know-it-all. It just requires me to listen and be nice. So I guess if it feels threatening, then like that would be something to sit with is like, well, why? Like, what is it threatening? Like, what would curiosity cost you? Mm-hmm. And is whatever that thing is actually like aligned with your values more than what could be gained from doing that?
Yeah. I think curiosity is a way to like expand your knowledge, not reduce it.
Like, that's literally what research is.
Yeah. I think like curiosity and context are incredibly important, especially when it comes to validation and being able to like show up and support the communities that are being uplifted during different periods of time.
Yeah. And the people that you love and care about each day. Like, if you're just like working towards understanding people's context and like being curious about like their viewpoint a little bit more every day, like that will improve your relationships. It'll improve your understanding of yourself.
Absolutely.
Your understanding of others and like your confidence to connect with others in general. And like once you ask questions and you like find out the answer, then you can like stand on it because you know that you like researched it. That is like my fatal flaw. I was telling you about this last week, that like if I have a thought, I like fact check everything. Yeah. Because I think I have that perception where like I do worry about being perceived as stupid. That was a lot of like growing up. I was like smart, but like stupid smart is kind of how it felt. Like I would like, oh, I'm in advanced whatever class, but I'm struggling. Yeah. And so I always had this kind of like, I feel like I'm in like the wrong place, but since I'm here, I want to make sure that like people think that I belong here or whatever. And so I fact check a lot of things. But I've noticed when I do that, if I have this thought and I go and I verify it and I look at like research and all of that stuff, and then I see that my like intuition was correct, that has built up my confidence in trusting my gut more instead of just like bullshitting and like acting as if I know all the things and not ever like verifying that, and also not being open to criticism. I will never be confidently wrong. Yes, I feel that to like my soul. I think that's like a mantra. Yeah. Is like, if I'm going to be confident with it, like I'm going to be confidently at least like supported, right? Like I'm going to have references and I'm going to be able to explain like how I got there, because I do think it's like tragically embarrassing to be confidently wrong. Yeah. Especially in public. Or people can see that. Like,
especially on social media, there's a paper trail that never goes away.
Well, and if you want people to trust you and see you as like responsible and like smart, then like maybe set your sources etiquette.
I think like as a person who possesses like a marginalized identity, that like I'm far more willing to interact with somebody who does not share my viewpoint if there's a level of like humility or like openness, that like you're far more worth the conversation than somebody who like I know that like you've already made up your mind about what I am or what I am not or what my identity means. Like it becomes really difficult to build a bridge when like you're the only one building it.
Yeah, like it has to meet in the middle at some point. Yeah. And I have no desire, I think. Like, that's a value of mine. Is, like, I will hang in there with anybody who is open. Yeah. To, like, growing and, like, considering viewpoints outside of their own. Yeah. But I think, like, when you get so rigid into things and, like, you're like, this is my way and, like, I'm unwilling to hear any other way, then, like, what are we doing here? Like, so, I don't know, I guess the takeaway is curiosity, context, Get you connection.
Mm.
Look at that. Isn't that alliteration? I love an alliteration.
Curiosity, context, connection. Force.
Yeah.
There we go.
There's a blog.
Good patent. That
Yeah. Yeah, no.
No.
I actually looked into the trademark process for something else and I was like, wow, this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
So now I just write copyright at the end of things. And we have a little thing on our website that's like intellectual property.
Cute.
And I just put that everywhere. So don't steal our stuff.
Please.
For more, we will see you. I have everything already written down before it comes out of my mouth. I can prove it was my idea. Because I'm crazy. Okay.
In our weekly report?
Yes.
Okay. If you've never listened to an episode before,
What are you doing here on episode?
why'd you say?
That's odd.
But also hello. Our report is an acronym. It stands for what we're reading,
Eating,
playing,
obsessing over,
recommending,
and treating ourselves.
There we go. All right. What book have you read this week?
I finished Not That Kind of Girl by Lena Dunham, we talked about last time, and started The Divorce by Frida McFadden. I have read 17 books this year, and I am 3 ahead of my goal of 30.
Time to up the stakes.
No. I don't know that we've talked about our bingos on the podcast, but every year, I think at least 3, maybe
I think
4.
This is the 3rd year.
I think so too. We've made bingo cards at the start of the year for one another. So we like swap them. And then we just like, we put experiences on there that could happen kind of throughout the year, not just things that like you do once.
Small, medium, and like large goals.
Like a lot of like experiences or things that like we believe would help each other, like with our own personal development, whatever.
Yeah.
So for the past, 2 years, I think, read 30 books has been on mine. And last year I didn't get it.
You were close.
I was very close, but I didn't. I was at like 28 or something. So this year I was like, I'm so serious. I'm getting this. So
to 50 once you hit 30.
That might be too much. Because I'm like, I mean, I'm like constantly.
Yeah.
So I don't know that. I think 2 books a month is like sustainable. The fact that I've been doing a book a week is wild. And that's only because of audiobooks.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you reading?
Haven't picked up a book yet.
Maybe someday.
The podcast, the right episode was about the Michael Graves Causeway.
I don't know what that is.
It is the bridge that connects the Swan and Dolphin Resort at Disney.
Like a tiny bridge?
It's not like a tiny bridge. It's a pretty decent sized bridge.
How big?
I don't know. Enough to connect the 2 resorts.
Okay.
They were talking about like the guy who it's named after he's the architect that designed the 2 hotels. He also is the architect that designed the Walt Disney like Studios office in Anaheim. They're really talking about him.
And you had a morbid.
I didn't have a morbid about murder. It was sad.
Woo!
It happened in the 60s. It was preventable.
That's
some good mental health treatment and a couple neighbors calling the cops could have gone a long way.
Yeah, usually.
Like that.
Yeah, pay attention to your neighbors because you could help solve a murder.
This guy was like spying on this family from a water tower, and the neighbors saw that he was
water tower with like binoculars
that he stole from the family's house.
That's ridiculous. What do you like?
And the neighbors saw him, and they're like, "That's weird." And then they never called the cops.
See something, say something.
Yeah. So a family of 5 were murdered. The 2 other children were at like a boarding school when it happened.
Oh my god! Now they're orphans. Well, they're old, probably, but
yeah, well, it happened in the 60s.
Every time I say orphan, I just think about that TikTok. I don't know if anybody. Well, I'm just gonna leave it in there. There was this TikTok. It was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago at this point, and somebody's talking about how that music on Love Is Blind is like so literal, so that like when something happens in the show, there'll be like this background track that's like so specific. And so there was one, and the girl was like, "Yeah, I don't have parents," and the music will be like, "She was an orphan." It's so funny. We need to find that and credit.
Well, it's starting to come back now because Love Island also has hyper literal music.
Yeah, but their music budget is very different. Love Is Blind is like indie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we're reading.
What are we eating?
I have no recollection of food this week.
The chicken on the grill was good. The Greek.
Yeah, we made like Euro situations.
Yeah.
Good.
My grandma made brownies.
Yeah,
They were nice.
They're good. Wait, no, there was something else. Oh, we got Carrabba's.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be shouting out the people
I know.
support aggressively. And we got Carvel, because we just got a Carvel.
Mm-hmm.
And by just, I mean like within a month or something.
Carvel's back in Sarasota.
Yes. So we went to Carvel.
Great. It was delicious.
Cute. Yeah. Oh my god, no, we went to Hooters. There's nowhere else to talk about this. So I've never been to Hooters. Emily had never been to Hooters. And my love language is like shared experiences that are like novel for both of us. It has to be the first time for both of us. It's not the same thing for me if like she's done it and I haven't. Like it's like, okay, like let me show you my experience that I've already had. But when it's like the fresh thing together, I'm like, oh my god.
When you woke up craving wings.
Yeah. And I don't like Buffalo Wild Wings and I don't like Wingstop that much. It's something in the breading, I don't know. And so I was actually craving Roosters because I'm from Ohio and we have Roosters, but I think Roosters and Hooters are owned by the same people, whatever.
You think? You said you were confident on Friday.
The word confident was never used. Promise. I said, I'm pretty sure.
You said they are owned by the same company. That is why I would like to go to Hooters.
Yeah. I believe so, but like I was not like exclaiming like definitively. Yeah, so we went to Hooters for the first time after acupuncture and after we went to World Market, which we also are obsessed with. We love World Market in this house. And it was good. Yeah. Like my wings were good. The vibes were, I guess, what you would expect. It was fine. I'd probably DoorDash them from now on.
I think we were the only other women in the restaurant were like the moms that it went with their families or the waitstaff.
And those vacationers that all had, that remember that girl had like 7 hats? It's like, why did you guys all wear these hats inside if you just take them off and make that girl carry that?
The wings were good.
Yeah, the wings were solid. So that's what we're eating. Playing. Oof. Did we do a lot of playing this week?
Played with our doll.
Yeah. I feel like, what did we do on Saturday?
Costco.
That's not playing. Yeah, I don't think that we did a ton of playing. We've watched our shows.
Yeah, it's not been a very whimsical week.
No, we've been very busy. Yeah. There's a lot going on. Yeah. So, not that much play, but maybe we will this week. Who knows? I am obsessing over trying to figure out, this is like so convoluted. So we have like outdoor furniture, trying to like make it cutesy. I guess you're supposed to oil, if you have outdoor furniture that is acacia wood or teak. No, it's acacia wood.
And we also have teak.
No, you would think it was teak because it appeared that it was. But I went and did the research on it. It's not teak wood, but it can be moisturized with teak oil. Like anyway, but it's not teak wood, which is what threw me off when I was like looking at everything. Anyway, so I'm trying to figure out if I have to like sand the entire things of furniture to like reapply the oil because some are saying yes. I don't want to do that. And so I'm obsessing over trying to find a way to like make this a less time intensive task. So that's what's going on with me. What are you obsessing over?
Feeling like a normal person.
Say more.
I feel like our house has been a little chaotic recently. So I'm obsessing over keeping it in array.
Word. We need to eat dinner earlier. That's the issue. Because why are we eating dinner at 10 p.m. on like a Tuesday?
It's editing our podcast.
Yeah. No, it can't happen today.
Yeah. But I think like obsessing over normalcy sounds nice.
Yeah. That's loud.
Yeah. Recommending.
I mean, if you're not watching Love Island, you should. It's like, it feels very community-ish because of how frequently it's on.
It's on almost every night.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess like I recommend having I liked our Friday. I liked our Saturday. Like having shared experiences or like one-on-one interactions with people in your life, I think are important.
Yeah, a recommendation I would have is like when people invite you to go to things, doing your best to go. We were invited to do something this weekend and we didn't go because I started to not feel well on our errands. And then everybody posted a picture and I got FOMO. So then I was like, oh, I wish I went, even though I didn't feel good. So I guess recommending like trusting your body, but also going to things when you don't want to. And actually, another thing, I don't even know where this like falls in, but there was a guest speaker at our church yesterday. Her name is Erin Edwards. I don't know why I kept saying Andrews. We got the chance to like go and have lunch with her, and she was talking a lot about kind of like her journey and then also kind of where we find ourselves in life. And I think I would recommend seeking out people that like look like you or have followed similar paths, even if you're like, I don't really know if I like want to open up to this person or like share anything. I think that other people that maybe don't know you super well but have walked in your path can like really say things that are influential. Yeah. And I would recommend vulnerability within reason.
Yeah. Treating?
I juiced a watermelon. The entire watermelon. It made a lot of juice. It filled up our entire like 2-gallon cooler.
I think you had about 1.5 gallons of water.
A lot of juice. So I've been treating myself to watermelon mojitos. That's my vote.
Treat yourself to a wife who makes watermelon mojitos.
You know?
I think treat yourself to being in a space, again, like kind of echoing what you said, being in a space with people who look like you and feel like you, that I think a part of like validation is perspective taking, is going out and like listening to people with differing perspectives, but that cannot be our entire life. And I think it is important that to sustain the distress tolerance piece, that like we have the safe home base, people who look like us and feel like us, and a space where we are not constantly challenged.
Yeah, our entire life should not be a debate.
Correct.
Like, it's good to do that, but
in doses.
Yeah, you need to fill your cup as well. Yeah. So, do that.
That's our weekly report?
Yeah, that's the podcast. Hopefully you learned something.
Throw your report in the comments.
Yeah, nobody's done it yet, and we're waiting.
Someone gets to be the first.
Yeah, and then you'll start off the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Thanks for talking shop with us.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.